My kidnapped sister has come back. My parents said she's pitiful and asked me to make way for her. Later, they even asked me to give up my boyfriend for her. They were childhood sweethearts. If your sister hadn't been kidnapped, they would have been married by now, my mother said. I've stolen him from Anna, and now that she's back, I'm supposed to give everything back to her. It doesn't matter to me anymore. Because I've already decided to end my life, I'll give her everything. When I got the report card, my mother called right then. All the grievances I had suddenly found an outlet. Mom, I barely managed to speak before she cut me off. Nina, why is there onion and garlic in this soup? Anna doesn't eat these, don't you remember? She completely ignored the lump in my throat. She went on complaining, you're so careless. Anna just chewed a piece of garlic, spit it out, and now she can't eat anything. The wind was strong outside, and her voice sounded distant. I clenched the report card in my hand, the words on it blurred. I couldn't see clearly. It felt like, at that moment, I had lost the ability to speak. The lump in my throat blocked my voice, and I couldn't say anything. On the other end, my mom didn't notice. You can't even do something this simple. What's wrong with you? My nails tore through the paper, digging deep into my flesh. My mom's voice pierced my ears, and everything in my mind became a chaotic mess. I couldn't make sense of anything. Anna's voice came in. Mom, Nina didn't mean to. My heart plummeted in an instant. I hung up the phone. My mom didn't call again. It was just like that night over a month ago. I admit, I was a little angry, but I forgot that a child who isn't loved doesn't have the right to be willful. Maybe that phone call was just to calm Anna down, right? They are both in the hospital now. In the building right in front of me, just a few steps away. But they are all taking care of Anna, whose tonsils are inflamed, and no one cares about me. I shouldn't have had any expectations. If you don't expect anything, you won't get hurt. I've known this for a long time. My parents' love is limited, and there's very little left for me. Most of it went to my sister, who got lost when she was 5. Even my birth was because of her. If your sister hadn't been kidnapped, I never would have had you, my mom would say every time I made a mistake. Every time she wasn't happy. In their eyes, I am just a shadow of my sister, a substitute for her. Now that she's back, everything I've taken from her should be returned. I didn't sleep all night. The next day, I went to deliver food to Anna as usual. Laughter came from the hospital room. I stood at the door and saw Caleb gently rubbing her forehead, his hand light, as if afraid to hurt her. I've seen this kind of scene many times, but my nose still involuntarily stung when Caleb saw me. He froze, and his smile immediately stiffened. He stood up and was about to leave, but Anna grabbed his arm, not letting him go. Caleb, feed me, she said, looking at him with a pitiful expression, but her lips couldn't hide her smug smile. A month ago, Caleb was still my boyfriend. Now, he was given back to her. They were childhood sweethearts, just as my mom said. If Anna hadn't been kidnapped, they would have already been married. My mom said I took advantage of the situation, like a thief. She also said, I've had Caleb for so many years, and now letting go doesn't count as losing anything. Anna whispered, Caleb. Caleb stood there, looking troubled. After a moment, he walked over to me and took the food container from my hand. He gave a faint smile, as if wanting to say something. A familiar sweet scent filled the air. He was wearing Anna's perfume, so cloying it made my stomach churn. I didn't pay attention to what he said and turned to run to the bathroom at the end of the hallway, vomiting until I couldn't breathe. My mouth was sour and bitter. After a long while, Caleb appeared at the clinic door. I guessed he had finished feeding Anna. I turned my eyes away and continued to sort through the medical records. It was lunchtime, and the clinic was empty except for me. Caleb walked up to me, his voice soft. You're hurt. Only then did I notice the cut on my hand. I must have cut myself while cooking, not paying attention. The wound was long but not deep. It wasn't a big deal, I responded in a low voice. His shadow fell on the table, looking somewhat dim. He didn't leave. Instead, he pulled out a brand new band-aid from his pocket. I didn't take it, nor did I respond. He grabbed my hand, his tone firm but his actions gentle. Nina, you need to take care of yourself. Yes. No one cares for me. I should care for myself. He sighed, his brows furrowing. His eyes soft with pity and tenderness. I couldn't understand. It had only been 2 months. Anna had been back for 2 months. My life had turned upside down. His tenderness was supposed to be mine, but now, I couldn't even accept it calmly. I can do it myself, I said. Caleb frowned but didn't let go of my hand. At that moment, I saw Anna at the door. She was barefoot, her eyes fixed on our intertwined hands. Her eyes were red and swollen. She choked, calling, "Caleb." Caleb paused, then turned to look at her. She glanced at me, her face pale, her lips trembling, as if she wanted to say something but didn't. She ran away instead. "Anna." Caleb hurried to chase after her, not looking at me again. The band-aid was still not applied. I had already said, "Let me do it myself." Why did he have to give me hope? Not long after, my parents barged into the clinic, so they were at the hospital too, of course. With Anna's situation, they never liked to rely on others. They probably weren't by her bedside earlier to give her and Caleb a chance to be alone. Now, they were here to seek justice for Anna. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. My mom was furious, pointing at me and shouting, "Nina, how could you do such a thing? Look, I'm not even worthy of having my own name. My sister is Anna, so I must be Nina." What were my parents really feeling when they conceived and gave birth to me, if it weren't for my mom crying every day? If my dad hadn't joined other relatives in persuading my mom, I probably wouldn't even have been born. In their eyes, I'm not an independent individual. My birth was merely a way to channel their emotions. I'm just a shadow of my sister. She liked pink, so I'm not allowed to like blue. She liked dolls, so there were no building blocks or toy cars in the house. I used to ask why. Why should I be the one to give up everything? But as I grew up, I realized that this was the only way my parents would give me any love. They would redirect just a little bit of the love meant for Anna to me, so after that, I never asked again. Patients outside the door craned their necks, watching this drama unfold. They looked at me with curiosity and disdain, that kind of gaze I'm very familiar with. It's the same as when I was in elementary school. I grew up being fostered by my aunt, living a poor life. It could even be called destitute. While my classmates were showing off colorful stickers and fancy stationery, I only had the pens my uncle brought home from work and plain black and white notebooks. So when my deskmate lost a pen, she naturally assumed I had stolen it. The pen was a limited edition that her mother had brought back from Hong Kong, with Hello Kitty prints on it. She had shown it to me once, and I said I envied it, but in truth, I didn't like it at all. I hated pink. But the life of being dependent on others taught me early on to read people's moods. I knew how to speak to make my deskmate happy. She, however, thought I had coveted the pen all along. The matter escalated to the teacher, who called for the parents to come. That day, in the teacher's office, I clearly heard my mom on the phone saying, "Don't bother me with this, I'm very busy." She was always busy. Since the day my sister went missing, she embarked on a journey with no end in sight. Today, she might be in Los Angeles, and tomorrow she could be in New York. Whenever she heard news about Anna, she would rush there without a second thought. My dad was too busy with work, and in his free time, he was also looking for Anna, so he never had time for me. I was seen as a burden and was sent to my aunt's house at an early age. My mom didn't want to waste time on me, and to settle things with my deskmate, she gave her money. This act solidified the false accusation against me. Thief became my label, a title that accompanied me throughout my childhood. I'll never forget that afternoon when the cicadas were singing loudly. My deskmate walked into the classroom and yelled, "Nina, your mom paid her off, and you're still saying you didn't steal it. You're just a thief." My classmates all turned to look at me, their eyes filled with disdain, contempt, and hatred. Children's malice is always so direct and intense. They surrounded me, chanting, "Nina, thief, Nina, thief." I felt like the world was spinning, like everything was crashing down. My pride, my self-respect, all of it vanished in that moment. At that point, nothing I said could make a difference. I didn't say anything in the end. I just covered my ears, hunched over on the desk, waiting for the bell to ring, waiting for the teacher to come. It was the same thing again. Why did my mom always put me in situations like this? The gazes of others were like needles, making it impossible for me to lift my head. My actions were interpreted by my mom as guilt. She became even more animated. "Your sister is sick. How can you take advantage of the situation like this?" In truth, Anna's illness wasn't that serious. A little medicine would do the trick. If she felt really bad, Justin 4 would fix it. But my mom was distressed. She asked me to go beg the ENT specialist to get Anna a hospital bed. That day, Even the usually indifferent chief physician laughed at me, saying, "You're from the top medical university, and you're asking to admit your family for something so minor. You could just give her some medicine." I didn't say anything. I just remembered the time back in high school. It was very cold, and I got sick. I think it was near the final exams. Ever since I was little, my mom only smiled at me when I did well in school. She'd buy me dolls, and during the new year, she'd tell everyone how smart and well-behaved I was. Even though she didn't take much care of me, I was still better than other children. It was only during these moments that I felt like my mom didn't regret giving birth to me. During that time, I focused so much on studying that I hardly took my medicine. The medication, which should have been taken 3 times a day, I only took once at night. If I took the cold medicine, I'd feel sleepy, which would affect my study efficiency. What was I thinking back then? How much did I long for my mom to look at me just once, to praise me just once? So I studied hard, forcing myself to push through an entire week, until I finally collapsed. What started as a simple cold turned into pneumonia. I had to be hospitalized. The school called my mom, unexpectedly. She came to the hospital to stay with me. She brought some fruit and even a stuffed toy. That was the first time I truly understood the meaning of a blessing in disguise. But good times always pass quickly. The next afternoon, my mom received a call. The person on the other end said he had news about Anna. My mom pressed him for photos, but he didn't respond, only telling her to bring money. It sounded like a prank, but my mom never gave up on any possibility. She was always like that. No matter when or what I did, Anna always came first, and I had no right to complain. My birth was a gift from Anna. Everything was meant for her. How could I complain? Since I became aware, my parents have always told me that everything has its order. Anna came first. I took what was hers. Mom called my aunt and then hurriedly left. But that night, my aunt didn't come. I was still in middle school then. Without a phone, the only thing I had was a school meal card, and no extra money. When it was meal time, the whole ward smelled of food. I swallowed my saliva. But it was all in vain. Such actions couldn't relieve my hunger. I had no choice but to stare at the 4-drip, adjusting the flow rate to the maximum. I was waiting for the drip to finish, so I could bury my head in sleep. By the next day, my aunt would have arrived. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The sky was getting dark. My stomach growled. I could feel a dull pain in my chest with every breath. The cold fluid flowed through my veins and into my body. My pillow was soaked with tears, and the coolness stung my cheek. The chief physician had them kicked out of the consultation room. Until they left, they kept asking me, how could I raise a heartless, ungrateful child like you? One unhappy incident was enough to destroy all the countless times they had compromised and given. In their hearts, I could never compare to Anna, even though she had done nothing. The consultation continued. I wiped away my tears, holding my notebook and taking notes, but my tears betrayed me. Dripping down and smudging the black ink, the chief physician couldn't bear to watch and sent everyone else away. She handed me a tissue and patted my shoulder. Nina, why don't you go home and get some rest? Sleep for a bit, and everything will be better tomorrow. For most people in this world, home is a haven, a place to shield from the wind and rain. But I rarely thought of it that way. I remember it was the summer before my 2nd year of high school. My aunt was diagnosed with breast cancer and had no time to care for me. My uncle also urged my mom, saying, we don't even know if we'll find Anna, but you'll have to rely on Nina to take care of you in the future. You can't just abandon this child. My mom was persuaded. She really planned to stay with me for a year. I returned to that quiet home. Mom had carefully decorated it, leaving the sun-facing room for Anna. The other room, naturally, was for me. My room faced the school. Every time school was out, when parents came to pick up their kids, the sound of car horns filled the air, non-stop. It was noisy. It was annoying. I asked my mom if I could switch rooms with Anna's, just for 1 year, until I finished my college entrance exams. I thought that maybe, just maybe, my mom could sense my urgency. I thought this time, she might move my position a little forward, but she just glanced at me with a kind of unspoken contempt. She asked me, what makes you think you can? Do you think Anna won't come back? I quickly denied it, but she went hysterical. Everything you have, you've taken from your sister. What right do you have to ask for more? How ridiculous. Since the moment I was born, I had been fighting for everything with someone I had never met. I never won. The home was Anna's home. Dad and Mom were Anna's parents. Before she returned, they would always be rushing to find her. After she returned, they would always stand in front of her, protecting her. As long as she looked up, she would see them. I left the consultation room and finally had time to check my phone. My mom had sent me a lot of voice messages, more than the ones she had sent me during my first year of university. I remember, during my first year of college, one of my roommate's parents always came to visit her. They came during military training, her birthday, and even New Year's. Every time they came, they brought a lot of snacks and fruits. Even though the school had these things, they still bought them, giving some to my roommate and some to the rest of us. They would keep saying, "Our girl is leaving home for the first time. Please be understanding with her. Don't be too hard on her." My roommate rolled her eyes and quietly muttered, "They're only like this the first year. After a while, they won't come anymore." When young birds first leave the nest, parents are always especially worried. The other girls agreed. My parents are the same. Last semester, they'd send me messages or video call all the time. But this semester, they're all busy with their own stuff. They spoke with a hint of disdain, but their eyes sparkled. They must be the type of children who grew up surrounded by love. So when that roommate found out I was a local, she was surprised and asked, "Then why don't you go home on weekends?" She had no idea that I didn't have a home. She had no idea that every time she video called her parents, I would listen. She had no idea that because of her, I learned that parents who love their children are like this. I opened the voice messages from my mom. She said, "Haven't you already broken up with Caleb? Why are you still doing things like this? Don't you think it's embarrassing? Are you doing it on purpose, trying to get close to Caleb in front of your sister?" It felt as if Caleb and I had committed some unforgivable act. Yes, we had broken up, but he was still not Anna's. No matter how much you resist, Caleb will still marry your sister. Stop stirring things up, okay? Do you even have any shame? Is it only when you drive me to death that you'll be happy, Nina? I really regret having you. Every word felt like a knife, cutting clean and deep into me. It left me bruised and wounded, inside and out. Mom always knew how to make me feel worse. Every sentence pierced straight into my heart. A horrible emotion churned in my chest. Honestly, more than hating them, I just wanted their love. What I got, however, was one disappointment after another. How many more times? How many times would it take before I could accept that they didn't love me? Before Anna came back, they hardly loved me at all. After Anna returned, that little love they had for me was entirely given back to her. I walked quickly, as if doing so would make my tears dry faster. It felt like if I walked fast enough, maybe people would ignore how ugly I looked. I returned to the old rented apartment. Caleb was standing at the door, a circle of cigarette butts at his feet. I stopped not far from him. He silently watched me, for a long, long time. Then he said, "I'm sorry." I stared at his face and suddenly wondered why I had ever liked someone like him, because when I was called a thief, he was the only one who stepped forward and chased those people away. Caleb was several years older than me. There was an inherent sense of authority about older kids. As long as he was there, no one laughed at me, scolded me, or bullied me. In those dark years, he was the only one who stood by my side. I once asked him, why me? Why was he so good to me? After all, to everyone else, I was just a hopeless bad kid. He rubbed my head and said, "I promised someone I would always protect her." I asked, "Then where is she?" He looked off into the distance and replied, "She's gone." That was the first time I truly felt the taste of melancholy. It was much later that I understood. The person he promised to protect was my sister. They had grown up together. Childhood friends, they should have grown up side by side, sharing a bright future, but she was lost to him. Caleb looked at me, his voice slow and heavy. "Nina, I'm sorry, this is something I owe her." We all owed Anna something. Everyone was bound to her by a sense of debt, but I hadn't done anything. I had never had a choice. No one had ever asked me if I wanted to be born, if I wanted to come into this world to suffer. A vicious thought suddenly flashed through my mind. I looked up at him and asked, "Caleb, what if I'm pregnant?" The words hit him like a stone thrown into a calm lake, causing his expression to crack. Emotions leaked out from that crack, joy, sadness, intertwined and mixed. In the end, only pain remained. His brows furrowed, and he said, "Nina, don't lie to me." Suddenly, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I raised my hand to shut the door on him. I really was pregnant. The report was the proof, but the child might not be his, that night. When my parents rushed to Anna, I was dragged into an alley on my way home. I remember that night. The stars were faint, and the cicadas chirped. Occasionally, a raindrop would fall on my forehead, or maybe it wasn't rain, maybe it was sweat, thick with an awful smell. I wanted to scream, I wanted him to go away, but I was too scared, so scared that my whole body trembled, and I couldn't even cry out for help. I felt my body being torn apart. Every inch of my skin felt like it had been burned in fire. It hurt so much, I couldn't breathe. It was like I had returned to that night in the hospital in middle school. Helpless, panicked, lost. I could only wait for this torture to end. I had taken the medicine, yet I still ended up pregnant. How cruel life is. It must have been intentional, in every sleepless night. I hated my own cowardice. I should have stood up and screamed. I should have fought back. I should have. But I didn't do anything. That night, I welcomed a grand withering, one that I witnessed with my own eyes. So when my mom asked me to let Caleb go for Anna, I agreed without hesitation. Caleb's concern for her had long surpassed the bounds of friendship. When we went to the haunted house, he would take her hand and walk with her through the rest of the journey. He would hold her close, softly telling her not to be afraid. The person he had always wanted to protect was her. As for me, I was always just an afterthought. I heard a sigh. Caleb paced in front of my door. The smell of smoke seeped through the crack. But soon, the flame was extinguished. After Caleb left, I turned on all the lights in the apartment. It was the only way to stop that pregnancy report from dragging me back into that nightmare. I buried my head and fell asleep for a long time. When I woke up, I took a leave from the hospital. Yesterday, I just acted on impulse. I couldn't really use this child to threaten Caleb. The department was short-staffed, so I had to postpone taking a few more days off. The chief physician asked me what had happened. I just shook my head and made up some excuse. That night, Anna called me. It was rare, but she didn't speak. All I could hear was her soft breathing and distant voices. My mom said, if you hadn't taken Anna out, she wouldn't have gotten lost. Caleb, Auntie has never blamed you, but remember, who do you really owe? You're good to Nina only because she's Anna's sister, right? Anna has suffered outside for more than 20 years. Can you really bear to see her continue suffering? Can you really stand to see her live her whole life alone? Nina has great conditions. She can find someone else later. But Anna only has you. Then, there was a long silence. After a long, long time, I finally heard Caleb speak. I understand. After meeting Anna, the man who was always so steadfast and calm, became indecisive. Sometimes he felt he owed Anna, and other times, he wanted to make it up to me, so contradictory. But this time, he had truly made a choice. Anna quietly said, Nina, stop playing these little tricks. You'll never be better than me. She sounded so pleased. You're just my replacement. Without me, where would you be? Her tone was just like my mom's. Condescending, like she was bestowing charity. I found it laughable. So, according to you, did you give birth to me? I almost forgot. You can't even have children. These were the cruelest words I had ever spoken. Because of a disease, Anna had undergone a hysterectomy and could never get pregnant. Taking advantage of her shock, I hung up the phone. Caleb sent me a message, a few hundred words, sincere sounding but full of cliches. He apologized to me. He couldn't keep the child. I didn't even shed a tear. I had already expected this outcome. Caleb, how weak he was. He couldn't even tell me directly. Was he afraid of softening, or was he afraid of my pursuit? It felt like some invisible force was beating on my chest, making a hot and noisy sound. Something was trying to crawl out of my throat. I rushed to the bathroom and vomited violently. After emptying my stomach, I leaned against the sink to stand straight. My head spun, and my mouth tasted sour and sticky. I fell to the floor and finally cried out. The sick leave was approved. I made an appointment at another hospital for an abortion. For the first time, my parents came to my rented apartment, bringing a lot of things: fruits, bird's nest soup, Chinese medicine. Mom stared at my belly, smiling kindly. Nina, I've cooked some old hen soup for you. It's good for the baby, I said. I don't plan to keep this child. How can you just say you don't want it? The baby is innocent. Don't you like children? Mom nudged Dad. He echoed, yes, yes, Nina, have the baby. We'll help you raise it. You won't have to worry about it. I stared at them in silence. Their smiles were so unfamiliar. Mom held my arm. Nina, don't you want this child? You don't know. When I was pregnant with you, I was so happy. Was that true? Was she really happy about my arrival? I lowered my head as she hooked her arm around mine. This kind of intimacy had appeared in my dreams countless times. And this time, it was actually happening. At that moment, Anna entered, holding Caleb's arm. Mom, does she want to give the baby to me or not? Mom signaled her to stop with a glance. I heard myself softly ask, really? Anna couldn't have children, so she wanted me to bear the child for her. Dad couldn't look at me. Mom smiled awkwardly. It was true, this was Anna's way of retaliating against me. She didn't really want the child, she just wanted to disgust me. She just wanted to prove that she would always be the one loved. For her, Mom could even pretend to love me. How sad. What was I still hoping for? How many more times would I face this disappointment? I already knew that every time was the same. Their kindness to me was always conditional. Like that time, they picked me up from Aunt's house to accompany me for the college entrance exam, hoping I would succeed and support them in their old age. Or the time when Mom lovingly called me Nina. But it was to make me beg someone to arrange a bed for her beloved daughter. It was always like this, always like this. I pulled my arm out of Mom's grip. You all can leave. She hesitated to speak. I choked up. Please, just go. It was the last bit of dignity I could save for myself. Anna had achieved her goal. Her gaze was filled with the same contempt that Mom once had. She said arrogantly, Nina, anyway, the baby is Caleb's. Whether I give birth or you do, what difference does it make? Didn't you once tell Caleb that you would have a child? You said you'd give all your love to him. Even these words Caleb had told her. I looked at him, hoping to see his expression now. Didn't he feel ashamed? Didn't he think this was disgusting? But his eyes were full of tears. I couldn't make out his expression clearly. Mom said, yes, Nina, it's fine, you can have the baby, and we'll raise it for you. Everyone agreed with her. Their faces were twisted, their smiles fake and monstrous. Just like that man, I felt like an invisible hand had gripped my throat. I couldn't breathe. Yes, yes, it'll harm your body to have an abortion. The baby is innocent. Let's raise it for Anna. I covered my ears. Shut up. Why should I give birth to this bastard? The world became quiet. Caleb stood frozen. Do you know what happened that night? The night when Anna dragged me to the island. Do you know what happened? I closed my eyes. The answer was obvious. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. Mom mumbled, why didn't you tell me? How did I not realize? How could they have noticed? All they saw was Anna, the weak, helpless, pitiful Anna, for whom they would give all their love. They had never noticed what was wrong with me. Even if they did, they wouldn't care. Mom approached me, seemingly wanting to hold my hand. Nina, did she have even the slightest bit of pity in her eyes? Never mind, I didn't care anymore. I called you that night. You were eating late-night snacks. Busy, Mom, you said you'd call me back. I smiled, each word deliberate. But you didn't. You three were having fun. No, wait. It was you four. Caleb, you were with them. Caleb stood there, pale, staring at me, when I got home. I saw the pictures Anna posted. You all had so much fun, unaware of what had happened to me. They were lost in their dream. Their precious Anna was returned to them. There was nothing better than this. No one cared about me, did they? Mom, this was the mom who had always been harsh and stingy with me. Now, she was blinking back tears. Was it because of pity, or was it guilt? Was it because this time, she couldn't stand on the moral high ground to criticize me? The man was very timid. Every time someone walked by, he would freeze. He'd choke my neck so I couldn't speak. Maybe if you had just called, you could have saved me. But you didn't. But they didn't. And how weak I was, I couldn't even struggle. He pressed on top of me, making it hard to breathe. I was so scared that I forgot to scream, forgot to ask for help. It was my fault. I exposed the wound on my arm, showing it to them. This was my punishment, this scar, when he dragged me into the alley. I could have run away, this scar. I heard footsteps. I could have shouted, this scar. I should have begged him. Maybe he would have let me go, this scar. Caleb pleaded with me, Nina, please stop, don't say any more. He covered his face, his shoulders shaking violently. He cried like a child. My father walked to the window, hunched over, saying nothing. My mother slapped herself across the face. She said she was sorry. That it was all her fault. We don't want this child anymore. We don't want it. Mom will take you to the hospital. We don't want it. In an instant, it seemed like my parents had aged. I laughed, tears falling from my eyes. You can't even listen to me anymore. But the knife, it truly, clearly cut into me. I couldn't even bring the criminal to justice. How ridiculous. After he let go of me, he ran too quickly and was hit by a car. He became a vegetable and has never woken up. His crimes were buried with him, but my world, that day, was permanently paused. My parents found their beloved daughter. Caleb was free from me, and soon he would marry Anna. Everyone got their happy ending. Only I hid in the shadows, watching them walk away. Only I was left standing there, confused and lost. Only I remained trapped in that nightmare. They didn't know how much it hurt. They didn't know how desperately I longed for that one phone call. They didn't know how many times I tried to scream for help in my dreams, to break free. Not once did I succeed. They didn't know how many times I tried to extract love from them, but failed. Again and again, I failed. I couldn't survive this. I withered on that day, in that moment. Since then, I lived like a walking corpse, like a wandering ghost in the world of the living. They didn't know any of it. Now, their feigned guilt. What good is it? Get out, all of you. I pushed them all out the door. Then I lost all my strength. I could only lean against the door, slowly sitting down. My mother begged me to open the door. Anna said, "Let her be alone, don't disturb her. She's been living fine these past few weeks. She'll be okay." A loud slap echoed through the silence. After a brief, suffocating pause, Anna ran off crying. They all went after her. It had always been this way. But it was okay. It was okay. My heart no longer ached. I bit down on my arm, not making a sound. My teeth sank into my flesh. The metallic taste grew stronger, out of the corner of my eye. I caught sight of the report. It was like a hand, ruthless and domineering, pulling me back into the darkness. I struggled for a long time. I nearly crawled to the fruit knife on the table. 1 cut, 2 cuts, 3 cuts, blood sprayed out, warm and pungent. It was then that I realized I was still alive. The nightmare had ended. I breathed a sigh of relief. Then, I just sat there, motionless, staring at the winding red river. So be it. I was never meant to be born. Why should an unloved child suffer in this world? No one ever expected me to come. Anna came back. My mission was complete. I walked toward a beam of light. Many little fairies surrounded me, laughing and playing. I must have returned to someone's embrace, infinitely warm. So this is what heaven looks like. How nice, how nice. A phone call broke the illusion. It was the chief physician, Nina. I bought some nutritious soup. Do you want to come and eat some? I didn't say anything. I was a little irritated. Last time at the gathering, I saw you take a few more bites. I thought you liked it. So I bought some today when I saw it at the market. How did she notice? Even my mother didn't know. Come over. I have some good news for you. I moved my lips, my voice hoarse. Okay, but I still didn't go. I had no strength left. I stumbled, stood up, then collapsed, stood up again, then fell. Finally, I saw the door being pried open. The chief physician rushed in. Speaking quickly, she looked very flustered. Her eyes were red. She had always been meticulous, but now her hair was disheveled. It wasn't dignified. Was it because of me? How could it be because of me? When I woke up, the chief physician was sitting at my bedside, still in her usual cold, serious manner, but her eyes lit up when they met mine. I was still alive, she said when she made the call. She had been downstairs. She felt something was wrong with me, that I might do something foolish. After the call, her intuition grew stronger. When she didn't see me downstairs, she called the police. I was killed by one phone call, and saved by another. How ironic. I'm sorry, I planned to come, but I didn't have the strength, I said. She replied, "It's okay, don't apologize. It's not your fault. You did nothing wrong." I closed my eyes, tears stinging my nose. Growing up, I longed for someone to love me. I wanted someone to tell me it wasn't my fault. My sister going missing wasn't my fault. Not being loved wasn't my fault. Everything I suffered wasn't my fault. But no one came. I waited and waited, until the flowers in my heart withered. Then, someone came. "I brought the soup for you. Come try it," she said. Both of my hands were wrapped in bandages. I couldn't drink by myself. She said she would feed me. She opened the thermos, and steam rose. making my eyes sting. Plop, a tear fell into the spoon. That tear was hotter than any I had ever felt. She sighed softly. Drink, it'll make you feel better. I finished the soup. The chief physician said the baby didn't make it. I smiled, but it was an ugly smile. I didn't intend to keep it. I asked her. Didn't you say there was good news for me? She said she wanted to recommend me to her university classmate. This person taught at a top medical school in Sweden and was looking for students. I lowered my eyes. My mind was a mess. She said, your heart is still trapped here, but you should at least leave. Go see the world outside. It's vast and colorful. I pursed my lips, saying nothing. The chief physician had always been attentive. She knew what I was trapped by, why I was in pain. She closed the door, and before me, she took off her jacket. Her back was covered in scars, old and new. It was heartbreaking. There were scratches and scars I didn't even know the source of. They looked like old wounds, from years past. These were done by my parents. When I was 13, I tried to run away. They definitely caught me and brought me back. This longest scar is from that day. They really tried to kill me, but the neighbors stopped them. Later, I thought about dying, to escape. To take revenge on them by dying, so that they would get nothing. When I tied the rope to the beam and stepped on the stool, I saw the world outside the window. I hesitated. I hadn't seen what lay beyond the mountains. Look, I've left the mountains, and I'm doing fine. I never hide these scars. To me, they are medals given by suffering. They are part of me. Her voice was soft, calm. There was a magical strength to it. Everyone has moments when they're stuck in the mire. The world may not have that many salvations, but there's plenty of self-healing. Go, child, she said, spread your wings and leave here. Later, I temporarily left the hospital and moved into the chief physician's home. I actively prepared for exams, waiting for an interview. Those people could no longer find me. It wasn't until the chief physician told me that Anna had been sent to jail, suspected of being involved in several rape cases. My mother, who had always been in poor health, suffered a stroke after hearing the news. As for my father, he barged into the suspect's hospital room, pulled out his breathing tube, and stabbed him multiple times. Even as he was dragged away, he cursed, you bastard, you ruined my 2 daughters, go die, die. Up until now, he still defended her. He still deceived himself. Why couldn't he admit that the daughter he had been searching for over 20 years had already turned into a demon? If he admitted it, he would probably go crazy. For all these years, their emotional support had been Anna, but the person they found was no longer the innocent, unaware child. She was extreme. She had once liked a man who liked someone else, so she incited others to assault that woman. The woman became depressed, and Anna got her cheap, sinful love. This method worked every time. When she came back, she used the same tactic to obtain love. She shattered me, made me wither, stripped me of my vitality. That way, my father, mother, and Caleb would all belong to her. Such a pointless act. That night, the chief physician held me in her arms for a long, long time. She smelled of lavender, which was comforting. I asked her, I'm not sad at all. Am I cold-blooded? She smiled, shook her head, and rubbed my head. My father died of liver cancer, the most painful kind of cancer. How painful. During a flare-up, the pain could cause someone to go into shock and die. Painkillers barely helped. In fact, he was very afraid of pain, and his will to live was weak, but I told my colleagues to extend his life no matter what. I visited him every day. By then, he couldn't speak, but he always looked at me with those pitiful eyes. She smiled faintly. I didn't let him die. I made him live 3 more months. Sometimes, 3 months can feel longer than a lifetime. She said, child, you're already very kind. The next day, I contacted the victims. Together, we went to the police station. I had once hoped that the man would wake up, and he should be punished, so I kept the embryo after my miscarriage. This time, Anna was also being punished along with him. After we came out of the police station, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. I felt the rain, the wind, the sunshine. I heard birds chirping and smelled flowers. Everything, all things, had color. I seemed to have bloomed again. Later, when I went to bring the chief physician some food, I saw Caleb. He was pushing a wheelchair in the hospital lobby. His eyes were empty, and his face was haggard. Nina, Nina. He saw me and murmured, oh yes. He had married Anna. Before they could even go on their honeymoon, Anna was arrested. Now, all the burdens were on him, all the messes were waiting for him to clean up. In just a few months, he seemed to have aged 10 years. He asked me, Nina, where have you been all this time? How could he still have the nerve to ask me such a question? You should go home and see, Mom misses you. I found it so ridiculous. Home? What home? Their home was never my home. Now, I no longer expected that place. I had a real home. He also said, Dad, he did it for you. I replied flatly, he never did it for me. I no longer paid attention to him. I just looked at my mother in the wheelchair. Her temples had turned white. She looked much older. She tilted her mouth, as if she had something to say, but only drooled, muttering incomprehensibly. I crouched down. She moved her fingers, seemingly trying to touch my face, but I was too far away. Her hand couldn't reach me. She grew anxious, trembling. She looked pitiful. I scanned her face, every wrinkle, her eyes, always filled with contempt and indifference, her lips, always speaking cruel words. In the end, I said, Mom, I no longer need your love. This was the last time I addressed her like that. I showed her the scars on my wrist. These wounds were enough to be shocking. That day, I was determined to die. I really wanted to punish them with my death, to take revenge on them. How foolish, how naive. Your daughter, Nina, was killed by your own hands. Her eyes widened. She trembled, trembling. Tears surged from her eyes. Her years were still long. Whether it was regret, pain, or sorrow, it no longer had anything to do with me. Caleb also begged me, Nina, come back. I can't hold on anymore. How spirited he had once been. Now, he looked like a middle-aged man, full of weariness. His eyes were dim. His lips drooped. He had lost his original radiance. No, Caleb, you need to live a long life. Live with guilt and regret. Live with the burden of endless labor. Leave. You will feel guilty, remorseful. Stay, and you will slowly lose your vitality. Which one will you choose? Those who betray true hearts deserve to swallow 1,000 needles. I smiled and turned away. Just as I was a little distance away, I heard Caleb's panicked cry from behind, Mom. What's wrong with you? Call a doctor. Anna was sentenced to 15 years. I went to see her in prison. This person, who had cried and apologized incessantly in court, now had a ferocious expression, gnashing her teeth. She was no longer pretending. She had no remorse. Are you satisfied seeing me like this? I nodded, very satisfied. I came here just to see her misery. Self-healing, self-healing. If the perpetrators are not punished, what kind of healing is that? Fortunately, the man was dead, and she was in prison. The nightmare was over. From then on, in my dreams, there was only a vast field of lavender. Nina, I really hate you. Why did you take everything from me? Everything you have was supposed to be mine. I had never thought of competing with her. She was insecure. She was too greedy. That day, when Caleb got drunk, he called your name. Why? He was supposed to be mine. He owes me. If it weren't for him, I would never have gone lost. I would never have been bought by that damn couple. He owes me so much. Why does he like you? Why? I just looked at her coldly, watching her suffer, watching her go mad, watching her be too greedy, watching her become frenzied with jealousy. When she had no strength left, I told her, while you're in here, you should repent, accept rehabilitation. By the time you come out, you'll be in your 40s. How nice. Half of your life will be wasted like this, muddling through, everyone shouting at you. She glared at me with hatred. Unfortunately, her gaze couldn't kill anyone. By the way, don't call me Nina anymore. It sounds terrible. I have a new name, Winnie. Winnie, Winnie, how lovely. I like it very much. The day I left C City, the chief physician came to see me off. I threw myself into her arms and took a deep breath. She smiled and rubbed my head. I'll come see you when I have time. Study hard. Don't embarrass me. I nodded and smiled at her. She pretended to push me and told me to hurry up. After passing through security, I couldn't help but turn back. She was still standing there, watching me, smiling gently. She seemed to be glowing. I saw tears at the corner of her eyes. I waved at her. See you next year, Winnie. See you next year. See you next year. My mother, thank you for giving me a new life. That's all the story. What do you think of this story? Share with me in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.